2024년 3월 19일 미시시피주에서 두 번째로 안전한 도시로 자부하는 브랜든에서 아무도 상상하지 못한 범죄가 일어났습니다. 14살의 여고생이 엄마와 아빠를 총으로 쏜 혐의로 체포되었고, 이 소름 끼치는 사건을 접한 모든 사람들은 이유를 궁금해했습니다. 14살의 여고생이 대체 왜 이런 충격적인 행동을 벌였을까요? 그래서 오늘 긴 사건 이야기에서는 이 충격적인 사건을 낱낱이 살펴볼 것입니다. 저는 쇼킹TV 톰슨입니다. 이 가족 구성원 중 어머니인 애슐리 니콜 스마일리는 1983년 4월에 플로리다주 스튜어트에서 태어났습니다. 그녀는 헌신적인 어머니이자 노스웨스트 랜킨 고등학교의 존경받는 수학 교사였으며 14살의 딸인 칼리 그레그도 같은 학교에 다녔습니다. 그리고 노스웨스트 랜킨에 오기 전에 그녀는 워렌 센트럴 고등학교에서 5년 동안 수학을 가르쳤습니다. 플로리다에서 태어나서 쭉 살아왔던 애슐리는 그곳의 해변을 사랑했고 디즈니 월드로의 가족여행을 즐겼습니다. 그리고 교육에 대한 열정은 2022년에 신임 교사상을 수상하며 크게 인정받았죠. 미시시피로 이사를 온 그녀는 재혼한 남편인 히스 스마일리, 딸 칼리, 두 마리의 애완견과 함께 애시튼 웨이에 있는 화장실 2개의 방 3개짜리 집에서 살기 시작했습니다. 뛰어난 성적으로 월반까지 한 칼리 덕분에 이 가족은 그 누구보다 행복하게 지내는 것처럼 보였습니다. 그런데 어느 날 애슐리는 딸에게 숨겨진 남자친구가 있다는 것을 알게 되면서 폰을 압수했고, 그건 모녀 사이의 갈등의 원인이 되었습니다. 휴대폰을 빼앗기고 남자친구도 만나지 못하게 된 칼리는 이때부터 상당히 엇나가는 행동을 보이기 시작했습니다. 애슐리와 히스는 이러한 문제들을 사춘기의 전형적인 반응이자 자연스러운 모습으로 여겼습니다. 그들은 일반적인 10대들이 보이는 사춘기 행동으로만 생각했고, 칼리의 문제에 대해 더 깊게 접근하진 않았죠. 그래서 칼리는 불안과 스트레스에 대해서만 정신과 치료를 받고 있던 중이었습니다. 새아빠인 히스의 법정 증언에 따르면 칼리가 심하게 스트레스를 받고 있던 요인으로는 다른 한 가지가 있다고 했습니다. 약물 중독으로 힘들어하고 있는 칼리의 친부인 케빈의 존재였죠. 그는 칼리가 12살 때부터 맥주를 마시도록 강요했다고 합니다. 이런 이유로 애슐리는 케빈과 이혼을 하면서 양육권 소송을 시작하였고, 그가 너무 두려운 나머지 항상 집에다가 장전된 총기를 보관했습니다. 그리고 2024년 3월 19일 화요일, 애슐리와 칼리는 오후 4시가 조금 지났을 때 학교에서 귀가하였고, 다시 둘은 말다툼을 벌였습니다. 이번에는 아까도 말씀드린 휴대폰과 남자친구 문제가 아니라 대마초를 섞은 전자담배를 피고 있다는 얘기를 학교에서 전해 듣고, 이것 때문에 다투기 시작한 것이었죠. 그래서 애슐리는 집에 도착하자마자 증거를 찾기 위해 칼리의 방에 들어가서 닥치는 대로 뒤지기 시작했습니다. 그땐 애슐리와 칼리만 있을 때였죠. 그리고 이 모든 상황은 거실에 설치되어 있던 홈 CCTV가 지켜보고 있었습니다. 칼리는 자신의 방을 뒤지고 있던 엄마에게 찾아가기 위해 방으로 걸어가는데 등 뒤에 무언가를 숨기고 있는 것처럼 보입니다. 검찰에 따르면 총격 직후 몇 초 만에 히스는 애슐리의 휴대폰으로부터 한 문자를 받았습니다. 자기야 언제 집에 와? 라는 문자였죠. 하지만 그건 칼리가 보낸 것이었습니다. 칼리는 그렇게 새아빠에게 문자를 보낸과 동시에 자신의 휴대폰으로 친구에게 긴급한 일이 일어났으니 도와달라는 문자를 보냈습니다. 얼마 뒤 친구가 현관에 도착했을 때 칼리는 이렇게 말했습니다. 시체를 보면 토할 것 같아? 라고 말이죠. 그런 다음 칼리는 친구를 침실로 데려와서 바닥에 피를 흘리며 쓰러져 있는 엄마를 보여주었죠. 거기서 칼리는 이렇게 말했다고 합니다. 엄마한테 세 발을 쐈고 새아빠가 집에 오면 세 발을 더 쏠 거야 라고요. 그렇게 친구는 집으로 갔고 칼리는 실내 카메라를 냉장고 안에 집어넣었습니다. 그리고 집 외부에 설치된 CCTV에는 오후 5시 3분에 집에 도착하는 히스가 포착되었습니다. 히스의 주장에 따르면 그때까진 특별히 이상한 건 느끼지 못했다고 했습니다. 쉽게 말해 자신을 기다리고 있던 이 충격적인 일들을 전혀 모르고 있었다는 것이죠. 법정 증언에서 히스는 다음에 마주한 그 충격적인 상황을 설명했습니다.
I want to talk to you about tell the ladies and gentlemen and I know it's probably difficult, you can take as much time as you need. Tell the ladies and gentlemen exactly what you remember about when you came home on March the 19th, 2024.
Everything seemed pretty normal, and I came on in, and when I opened the door to the kitchen there, gun went off in my face before the door was, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches wide open, and everything kind of went pretty fast from there. It was a blur. So.
What's the location of your emergency? What daughter did you shoot me? Your daughter tried to shoot you? Yeah. She ran out shooting at me. Where is she at? She ran away. How old is she? 14. 14?
경관들은 그곳에 도착했을 때 히스가 현관문 밖에 쓰러져 있는 것을 발견했습니다. 목 주변에 총알이 스쳐 지나간 상태였죠.
What is your son wearing?
He was in jeans and a gray t-shirt. He's got shorts, reddish hair.
So jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
She ran into the backyard and tried to follow us until the steps around.
She took Does she still have the gun?
It's on the kitchen counter. I think there's one light round left in the cylinder. I went in the back door and she tried to shoot me.
Hey, I need some gloves. He's saying that she ran towards Magnolia Place. He's brave, but he's too soon. Hey, what's in his shirt?
They got me right there.
Magnolia Place. They gave this subdivision.
She ran over the side back towards my vehicle. She might have looked around this way.
I looked back going back towards the barn right there.
총격을 시도한 다음에 칼리는 뒷마당 울타리를 뛰어넘어 도주했습니다. 경찰은 미시시피주 고속도로 순찰대 헬리콥터의 도움을 받아 주변 수색을 시작했습니다. 칼리는 주거지에서 멀지 않은 곳에서 발견되었죠. 그리고 911 신고를 접수한 지 약 30분 만에 칼리는 추가 범행 없이 체포되었습니다. 체포된 칼리는 사건의 심각성에 따라 미성년자가 아닌 성인으로 취급되어 살인 미수, 증거 은닉 혐의로 기소되었습니다. 보석금은 100만 달러, 13억 5천만 원으로 책정되었죠. 하지만 이렇게 기소되어 구금된 칼리는 자신의 모든 혐의에 대해 무죄를 주장하며 재판을 기다렸습니다. 그리고 이 사건을 조사하고 있던 검찰은 미성년자가 성인으로 재판을 받을 때 복잡한 검증 과정을 거쳐야 하는 부분 때문에 사건이 일어난 지 5개월 만에 칼리에게 형량거래 제안을 하게 됩니다. 유죄를 모두 인정한다면 40년의 징역형으로 합의를 해주겠다고 말이죠. 하지만 변호인단은 더 좋은 방법을 준비한 것인지 이 거래를 단칼에 거부하였습니다. 그래서 검찰과 변호인단은 험난한 길을 걸어가야만 했고 먼저 9월 16일에 사전심리 재판이 열렸습니다. 이 사전심리 재판은 칼리에게 적용된 성인 범죄 혐의가 정당한 것인지 그에 따른 검찰과 변호인단의 구형은 어떻게 되는지를 알아보는 것입니다. 그리고 검찰은 살인 혐의에 대해 종신형, 살인 미수 혐의에 대해 20년 뒤 가석방 자격이 주어지는 종신형, 증거 은닉 혐의로 10년형을 구형하였습니다. 검찰이 법정 최고형을 구형한 이유로는 이것을 근거로 댔습니다. 칼리가 어머니를 살해하고 새아빠를 살해하려고 시도하기 전에 이중 생활을 했다고 말이죠. 칼리는 몰래 남자친구와 문자를 주고받고 일회용 폰을 사용하며 등교하기 전에 대마초를 피우고 부모님이 금지시킨 SNS를 비밀 계정으로 계속해왔습니다. 게다가 칼리가 엄마를 죽인 것은 우연히 단 1도 없는 완전한 계획살인이라고 했습니다. 부검 결과 사인은 두부 총상이며 한 곳에 집중되어 있었기 때문에 분노와 같은 감정도 섞여 있었음을 주장했습니다. 하지만 변호인단은 꽤 다른 관점을 갖고 있었습니다.
I know it's been a long morning for you all, so I will try to do this as briefly as possible. This is not a whodunit case. We know who took action on March 19th to bring about the death of Ashley Smiley and the injuries to Heath Smiley. However, this is a why case. Why did it happen? Why did this exceptional child with no history of violence, who was loved by her friends, her teachers, her parents, who had a good home life, who loved her mother, why did she shoot her mom? Why did she shoot at her stepfather? The state would like you to believe the answer to those questions don't matter, but we know better than that. The answers to those questions is why we're here today, and it's what you're here to do. We believe the evidence will show that there were 3 victims on March 19th: Ashley Smiley, Heath Smiley, and Carly Smiley. And Carly Gregg, that they were all 3 victims. We believe the evidence will show that Carly had been suffering from a mental illness, that Carly was not aware on March 19th that she had a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's parents, who lived with her, were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's close friends, who saw her at school every day, were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness, because it's hard to look at a person and understand that they have a mental illness. It's hard to look at a person and know that they have a mental illness. That's why it's often referred to as the invisible disease. A person can exhibit symptoms of a mental illness without people necessarily knowing that they have one, or other people necessarily knowing that's what another person has. While the events on March 19th were tragic, the events on March 19th were not intentional.
피고 측은 앤드류 클라크 박사를 증인으로 소환하였습니다. 그는 법의학 정신과 전문의로서 총격 사건 전과 사건 당시 그리고 이후의 칼리의 정신 상태에 대해 전문가 증언을 제공하기 위해 증인석에 섰습니다.
What, if anything, were you able to gauge about Carly's having any behavioral issues or a history of behavioral issues?
So it was my impression that Carly had, to a very large extent, always been well behaved, was a dutiful girl, sought to do well in school, sought to please her mother by doing well in school. And then in the last perhaps year, developed some what I took to be relatively common teenage behaviors, such as staying up past curfew on a burner phone to text with friends, for example. I think on one occasion she snuck out at night after curfew to go visit a friend. And then in addition, in the last perhaps 6 weeks prior to the arrest, she began smoking marijuana.
What, if any, past history of trauma did Carly have?
So Carly had had a somewhat difficult childhood in a couple of different ways. One is that she had a younger sister who died of a medical illness when Carly was about 4 years of age, and the younger sister was around 18 months of age. And Carly reported to me that that was hard for her. She remembered it happening, and it was difficult for her. Secondly, her parents divorced when she was around 4 or 5 years of age. She reported to me that she remembered a lot of arguing, and that she recalled having seen her mother having been bruised or injured by her father, that there was domestic violence, although she never witnessed it directly. She told me that her mother had informed her that the father had beaten her. And she told me that she recalled she and her mother leaving late at night as the parents separated. She told me that she, and it's my understanding as well from records, that Carly had court-ordered visitation with her father about every other week, but that was difficult, that she found her father to be angry, unreliable, that at times he would just sit in a chair all day long and not speak to her, that at times he wouldn't help her get food or fluid. And there was one incident in particular when she was around 6 years of age, when something the father had done frightened her, and she ran and hid under the bed. And this was an incident that continued to bother her. She also told me that her father was a dangerous and scary driver, and it was scary for her to drive with him. Carly told me that for at least the last few years, she had at times restricted her food intake, at times had binged and then purged by making herself throw up. She told me that she had never taken laxatives or diuretics, but that she had been engaging in these eating disorder behaviors for, on a somewhat regular basis. She told me that she had never actually lost a substantial amount of weight, but she'd been doing these things for at least a couple of years. And so she was having, if I may, mood issues, eating disorder issues, cutting herself, hearing voices, and sleeping difficulty, all, I guess, leading up to January of 2024.
클라크 박사는 칼리에게 양극성 장애 2형을 진단했다고 덧붙였습니다. 그는 총격 사건 몇 주 전에 변경된 칼리의 항우울제가 그녀의 정신 상태를 악화시켰을 수도 있다고 주장했습니다. 그리고 생존한 피해자이자 피고의 새아빠인 히스 스마일리는 재판 둘째 날 피고 측 증인으로 증인석에 섰습니다. 그는 광범위한 증언 중에 총격 당일에 칼리와 마주쳤을 때를 상세히 설명했습니다.
If you would introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen.
My name's Heath Smiley.
And Heath, we've met before today, that's right?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would though, these ladies and gentlemen don't know you, so if you would just kind of tell them a little bit about how old you are.
39 years old. I'm a physical therapy assistant, and I've been Carly's stepdad for, it was almost, I guess, 3.5 years.
And so on that day, the second door was what was closed.
Yes.
I believe you said that you didn't get it open probably 3 or 5 inches before it went off. What did you remember seeing, Heath?
Just gun flash in my face, and then went off 2 more times, but my hand was on the gun after the first shot, and I twisted it from her.
Who was pointing that gun at you?
It was Carly.
Who pulled the trigger when you opened the door?
The first one I know was Carly. After that, my hand was on the gun too, and I know I had a scratch on my thumb and all. I very well could have hit it, I know, that third time.
How close, Heath, was that gun to your face when that went off?
Maybe a foot.
Did you ever get struck by a bullet?
Yes, one of them kind of grazed right through this muscle up here.
Can you tell, ladies and gentlemen, what did that feel like?
I know this sounds weird, but I honestly have never felt it to this day.
Walk us through, you said that you were able to at some point get the gun from her. Tell us, Heath, what is it that you remember after that?
She was screaming out of her mind, scared. It was like she had seen a demon or something. She was terrified. And my first thought was there was an intruder somewhere, and she thought she was after somebody else.
And to be clear, Carly never told you that she thought somebody else was in the house, right?
No, that's the feeling that I got. She was terrified out of her mind.
And at that time, you did not yet know that your wife was dead, right?
No, not at that time.
So Carly's scared, she's screaming when she shoots at you. How many shots went off from that gun?
At that time, there was 3.
What type of gun was it that you took from Carly?
It was my Taurus revolver.
And what type of what caliber of weapon is that?
So the gun is a .357 Magnum, but I think it had 38 special rounds in it. You can, if the gun's a .357, it can also shoot 38s. A little bit lighter recoil.
And what color was that gun?
It's just the gun matte silver.
Prior to taking it out of Carly's hand, where was the last time you saw that gun?
Ashley kept it on her side of the bed. So it had been there for probably a couple of years.
When you say on her side of the bed, was it on a nightstand or was it somewhere else?
I think she kept it, we had little cubbies underneath the edge of the bed the mattress is sitting up on. I think it was sitting up under there.
Between the mattress and the cubbies? Underneath the mattress?
I think she just had it in a cubby under there.
Was the gun just loose or was it in some sort of holster the last time you saw it?
I do not recall that. It was a while back. It had been sitting for a long time.
Did you have other guns in the house on that day?
Yes, I had an old shotgun that I've had for years that's unloaded in the closet, and I had an AR that I had gotten, it was also unloaded in the closet.
Heath, at some point, there was a no contact order put in place between you and Carly.
Yes.
Did you ask the court to lift that?
Yes.
And since that time, you've had contact with her?
Yes.
At any time during your communication with Carly, has she told you that she was not the person that killed her mother?
No. We have not had any kind of conversation, anything like that. Nothing to do with the case or the trial.
Do you see Carly in the courtroom, Heath?
Yes.
If you could you point her out?
Right there.
And could you tell me where at that table that you pointed at that she's sitting?
She's in between Mr. Camp and Miss Todd in black.
And is that the same person that shot you with that .357 Magnum on March the 19th, 2024?
Yes.
May the record reflect the defendant's identified that the witness has identified the defendant.
Record reflect has identified the defendant.
Do you think that if someone shoots at me unprovoked, that that's a violent offense?
I guess so. It really depends on the circumstances.
Again, unprovoked. I'm walking into this courtroom, and out of nowhere, this gentleman closest to the door, as soon as I open it, pulls out a gun and fires it at me. Is that a violent offense?
It could be. Depends on the circumstances.
You said that Carly, you never saw her get mad or yell?
I have never seen Carly just angry or anything.
Never?
No, ma'am. She's always been just a happy little girl.
Was she a happy little girl when we just heard the video when she was firing a gun at you?
Like I said, I've never seen anybody like that, even in movies. She was not herself, and like I said, I do not believe she even recognized me. She was terrified.
And Heath, I believe on direct, when I asked you about medications, you actually didn't handle Carly's prescriptions or medications, right?
No, Ashley was making sure she was taking them.
I want to talk to you, Mr. Smiley. You said that law enforcement came over a couple times and they didn't find these cameras. Did Miss Todd and Mr. Camp come over to your house at some point?
Yes, they did.
And when was that?
I think it was after the second police search.
And at any point, did they also conduct a search of your house?
They came through and wanted to take pictures and get the layout of the house.
Did they take anything from the house?
I think they took a couple pieces of her artwork and a couple things like that, but I'm not certain at this time.
And you don't know as to what they did with those, do you?
I do not.
Did they ever find the camera in the refrigerator?
No.
Court's indulgence. There are no further questions.
May this witness be finally excused by the state.
3일간의 증언 후 피고 측은 정신 이상으로 인한 무죄를 입증하려는 전략에 있어서 꽤 희망적으로 보였습니다. 그들의 접근 방식은 이랬습니다. 14살 여자아이가 저지른 범행의 심각성에도 불구하고 배심원들은 정신건강 문제로 힘겨워하는 그녀를 가혹하게 처벌하지 못할 것이라는 예상에 기반을 둔 것이었죠. 그리고 그들이 준비한 정신과 전문의의 증언은 이러한 전략을 강화시켜 주었으며 칼리의 책임을 줄일 수 있는 심리적 어려움에 대한 근거를 제공했습니다. 게다가 생존한 피해자이자 새아빠인 히스가 증인석에 서서 피고 측의 주장을 더욱 탄탄하게 뒷받침해 주었죠. 히스는 칼리에 대한 적대감이나 악의를 표현하는 대신 의붓딸에 대한 연민과 지지를 보여주었습니다. 그의 태도는 배심원단의 동정심을 불러일으킬 수 있고 칼리의 행동과 성격에 대한 인식에 영향을 줄 수 있었습니다. 그러나 이 재판은 4일째 되는 날 엎어지는 것처럼 보였습니다. 피고 측이 변론을 마친 후 검찰은 여러 명의 정신건강 전문가들을 증인으로 불러세웠습니다. 그중 한 명은 정신과 전문 간호사인 올리비아 리버였죠. 칼리와 직접 얘기를 나눈 의료 전문가로서 리버 간호사의 통찰력은 배심원단에게 칼리의 정신 상태와 그녀의 행동에 대한 책임에 대한 또 다른 관점을 제시하였습니다.
Alright, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Did everyone follow the court's instructions overnight? Did anyone allow themselves to be exposed to any media accounts, any social media, or any news account of this case? Everyone shaking their head in the negative. We will proceed. Alright, the defendant having rested, the state may call any witnesses it wishes to call and rebuttal.
The state calls Olivia Lieber.
Have a seat. You can adjust yourself up to the microphone. You don't have to speak directly into it.
Okay.
But I do want you to speak so that lady in the very back row over there.
Okay, got it.
I understand that you're now under oath. Answers are sworn answers subject to penalty of perjury.
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed.
If you would, Olivia, introduce yourself to these men and women.
I'm Olivia Lieber,
And Olivia, where do you work?
Precise Mind.
And tell us a little bit about what Precise Mind is.
It's an outpatient mental health clinic, and we do research and mental health care for all ages.
Just to be clear, you're a little nervous today, right?
Yes, yeah, I am.
Is this your first time to ever testify?
Yes.
All right. How do you, and what is your role at Precise?
I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner.
And can you kind of tell us a little bit about what that is and what you do?
Yeah. I got a degree with a master's degree in advanced nursing practice. So I chose to specialize in psychiatric mental health. The nurse practitioner program requires 1,200 hours of clinical practice, and we have to do different specialty groups, have experience with different specialty groups like geriatrics, adolescents, outpatient and inpatient psychiatry. So it's just a specialized nurse practitioner role, provider role.
And when did you do that?
That was 2.5 years ago, and I graduated in December 2021.
And have you been at Precise the whole time since then?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what is it that you do? I know you told us that you're a nurse practitioner there, but what is it that you actually do, like with patients at Precise?
Okay, we evaluate them and assess them, and we diagnose and then do medication management.
When you're evaluating them, is it important that they provide you accurate information?
Oh yes, very.
And why is that?
Because we base our diagnosis on that.
I want to take you, Olivia, to there's a section in that assessment about thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us about what you observed and what your records indicate about whether or not Carly was having abnormal or psychotic thoughts on January the 15th, 2024?
She denied those.
And did she ever tell you that she was having those types of thoughts before January the 15th of 2024?
No, she denied hallucinations or delusions.
And what was your diagnosis of Carly from your encounter with her in January 15th of 2024?
Adjustment disorder with mixed anxiety and depressed mood, and then major depressive disorder, single episode, moderate severity.
So for those of us that are not in the medical field, will you break that down for us and just tell us kind of what that means?
Sure. An adjustment disorder is basically just based on a stressful situation that might have happened that is their reaction to that. So it's pretty common, especially in her age group. So, and then I specify, there's a specifier that you can add that says with mixed anxiety or depressed mood. So I added that. And then major depressive disorder, and then you can specify single episode or if it's been recurrent, and then the severity, if it's moderate or severe or minimal.
And you put single episode. Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Just that it wasn't chronic, that I was aware of at that time.
And so, and again, you're just able to render your opinions based off the information provided.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You had the opportunity to provide treatment to Carly. Was that on February the 14th of 2024?
Correct.
And the notes I'm looking at say that was a telemed.
Right.
And it was mom was present. So tell ladies and gentlemen, what does that mean, telemed?
They just have the option to do in person or a Zoom call for their appointment.
And what did Carly tell you? There's sort of a history provided by the patient. What did she tell you about the medication she was on at that point?
That it had not really had an impact on her at that time.
And so kind of what was your discussion about? We were on 25 milligrams, and then what did you talk to them about?
How it's affected them and if they've had any bad side effects, and if they have not, then, and it has not done anything like for her at that point, then we usually go up on it.
And I want to talk about those side effects because your medical records specifically say the patient denied SI HI, and AVH. So if you could walk us through, what does it mean when it says patient denied SI?
Suicidal ideations.
And when she denied HI, what is that?
Homicidal ideation.
And what about when she denied AVH?
Auditory visual hallucinations.
So she's denying seeing things that other people don't see and hearing things that other people don't see.
Right.
Did she also deny any other side effects from the medication?
Right.
You did a mental assessment and risk assessment on Miss Gregg again on that day. Can you walk us through that day? Was she oriented to time, place, and person?
Yes.
And did she report having any trouble with recent memory or remote memory?
No, not that I saw.
Down under thought processes, did she report having any abnormal or psychotic thoughts?
No.
레베카 커크는 메디슨에 있는 매그놀리아 상담소의 소유주이자 공인 전문 상담사입니다. 그녀는 칼리와의 상담 과정에 대해 증언했습니다. 먼저 총격 사건 전 총 9번의 주간 상담을 통해 칼리를 만났다고 말했습니다. 이 상담을 가지는 동안 칼리는 불법 약물 사용, 환각 경험 또는 기억력 문제에 대해 언급한 적이 없다고 진술했습니다. 특히 칼리나 그녀의 어머니 모두 현실감 상실, 해리성 장애 또는 기억 상실과 같은 것들을 말한 적이 없었습니다. 하지만 칼리는 친구들이 자신만큼 학업에 전념하지 않고 있다는 점에 대해 좌절감을 표현한 적이 있다고 했습니다. 게다가 칼리는 표도르 도스토옙스키의 죄와 벌을 읽고 있다고 했는데 이 소설은 더 큰 선을 위해 더 작은 악한 행위를 정당화할 수 있다고 믿으며 한 여성을 살해하는 주인공에 관한 이야기입니다. 레베카는 이 소설이 이런 끔찍한 범죄를 저지르는데 적지 않은 영향을 주었을 것으로 보았습니다. 검찰은 레베카 커크 다음으로 미시시피 주립병원의 법의학 평가 서비스의 책임자인 아만다 구글리엘모 박사를 소개했습니다. 아만다 박사는 칼리를 면담하고 그녀의 의료 기록을 평가한 후 칼리가 재판을 받을 능력이 있다고 판단했다며 진술했습니다. 그리고 검찰은 아만다 박사에 이어 노던 미시시피 주립병원의 법의학 정신과 전문의인 제이슨 피켓 박사를 증인석으로 소환하였습니다. 그는 칼리를 평가한 뒤 그녀가 범행 당시 미시시피주의 정신 이상 기준에 부합하지 않는다고 결론지었습니다. 쉽게 말해서 정신 이상으로 보기 어렵다는 뜻이었죠. 더 나아가서는 전 칼리가 양극성 장애를 앓고 있다는 것을 매우 의심스럽게 생각하며 믿지도 않습니다. 라고도 하였죠. 이건 배심원단에게 큰 충격을 가져다 주었습니다.
Then I also said some psychopathic traits. And I don't use that word lightly. Especially in an adolescent. But as I was reviewing her journal, where she says it's okay to be evil, when I see the callous nature in which she left her dead mother to text her next intended victim, and then even use the word honey, that is callous. And it is very concerning to me. In her journal, she often talked about, there were violent themes. I think she may have some with her friends. As I was reviewing Discovery, there's memes about violence. There's often this mix of fantasy, dark humor, and violence. I've seen a lot of memes. I won't go into them, but the callousness of which she did that, she has this superficial charm. She's charming. She's very likable. I liked her when I did the interview. I don't like saying any of these things, but I truly believe them. And so she's very charming. Manipulation. She took extensive notes about how to manipulate.
증언이 마무리되고 모든 증거가 제시된 뒤 현재는 15살이 된 칼리 그레그의 운명은 배심원단의 손으로 넘어갔습니다. 배심원단에게는 두 가지 선택지가 있습니다. 유죄로 판결하거나 정신 이상으로 인한 무죄로 결정하는 것이죠. 만약 그들이 칼리를 무죄로 결정한다면 그녀의 정신 상태가 회복되었는지 여부를 결정해야 합니다. 그리고 여전히 사회에 위협이 된다고 판단된다면 추가 평가를 위해 주립병원으로 보내진 뒤 치료 계획이 수립될 것입니다. 길면 평생 동안 폐쇄병동에서 지내야 될 수도 있죠. 과연 배심원단의 결정은 무엇이었을까요?
Please rise and come to the podium, along with your attorneys. All right, the verdicts appear to be in proper form. Verdict of the jury is count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Please be seated, Ms. Gregg. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, is custom for the court to poll the jury. I have to do it each time. And for each count, I'm not being rude. The quickest way for me to get through this is to simply point at you and you answer out loud. As to count 1, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Beginning on the first row, ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Yes, sir. Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? You gotta answer out loud, ma'am, I'm sorry. Yes. On the back row, sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict?
결국 칼리 그레그는 어머니 살해와 의붓아버지 살인 미수 혐의로 유죄 판결을 받고 종신형을 선고받았습니다. 더 가벼운 형량을 받을 수 있었던 형량 거래를 거절한 것은 명백한 오판이었음을 보여주었습니다. 배심원단은 증거들과 칼리의 은밀한 생활, 그녀의 행동이 미친 파괴적인 영향을 종합적으로 고려했고 결국 그녀의 정신건강 문제가 이 끔찍한 범죄에 대한 책임을 면제해주지 않는다고 결론 내렸습니다. 이 지역사회를 흔들어 놓았던 이 사건에 대한 판결은 정의를 구현했다는 사실에서 안도감을 주었지만 한편으로는 씁쓸함을 안겨주었습니다. 존경받던 사회 구성원이 비극적인 사건으로 목숨을 잃었고 한 가족이 산산조각 났으며 누구보다 똑똑한 어린 여자아이가 평생을 감옥에서 지내게 되었으니까요. 그럼 오늘 긴 사건 이야기는 여기서 마치겠습니다. 오늘도 함께 해주신 여러분께 감사합니다. 저는 톰슨이었고 항상 그렇듯 다음에 만날 시간까지 모두 건강하셨으면 좋겠습니다.
504.